on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. MLB free agency, not too many moves. We are winding down. All season's running out. Spring training starting in probably about a month. The Houston Astros have found a new general manager. They have hired Dana Brown as their new GM. He comes from the Braves front office. I think it's a good hire. Of course, James Click, who they had the last couple of years. They won a lot of games. The team was already pretty much put in place for Click once he got there. You know, after he was there for a few years, supposedly he was kind of bumping heads with ownership. So there was rumors that he needed to win the World Series in order to keep his job, which he did. They won the World Series, but then his contract expired, and Crane offered him a 1-year deal, like a prove-it deal, and Click basically said, "Go after yourself," and they parted ways. He wanted a long-term deal. Crane wanted to give him a 1-year deal, so it didn't work out. They are Dana Brown, who's done a lot of really good scouting for Atlanta. He's helped draft a bunch of guys, Michael Harris, Spencer Strider, a lot of these young guys that the Braves have. So good hire for the Houston Astros. And the last bit is the Orioles acquire Cole Irvin from the A's. Good trade for the Orioles. Irvin last year, 30-star tight of the ERA, just under 4. He's a solid starter. That they had a much-needed rotation piece to the equation. The Orioles give up a prospect. They give up a pretty good prospect. They give up a kid who hit like 340 or a couple levels last year, so pretty good trade for both sides there. That's it for baseball, really. For onto hockey, your scores from last night: you had the Red Wings over the Canadiens, 4-3 in overtime. Lightning over the Bruins, 3-2. Capitals over the Penguins, 3-2 in the shootout. Wild over the Flyers, 3-2 in overtime. Predators over the Devils, 6-4. Sabres over the Jets, 3-2. Coyotes over the Blues, 5-0. Blackhawks over the Flames, 5-1. And Ducks over the Avalanche, 5-3. We had a trade yesterday. Colorado picks up Matt Nieto from the Sharks along with a prospect, Ryan Merkley. Sharks get Jacob McDonald and Martin Kaut. Matt Nieto's got 8 goals this year, going along with 7 assists, giving him 15 points. Merkley has been in the minors his whole career. Sharks pick up McDonald, who's played a tiny bit for Colorado this year, as has Martin Kaut. McDonald's got, he's got 2 points and no goals in 33 games. Kaut's got a goal and 3 points in 27 games. So Colorado gets some forward depth with Nieto pick up a prospect in San Jose, gets a little more depth. Of course, Colorado's probably going to be a buyer. Coming off a cup last year. A lot of injuries right now. Just trying to make sure they can at least get into the playoffs. Sharks obviously probably going into sell mode. And before I move on to college basketball, I want to talk about something. It's slightly not sports related. I don't love to go off topic from different things that are like not really sports related. But I think this is important to talk about. You had Ivan Provorov, the Flyers defenseman, last week. He supposedly. Not supposedly. Why am I even using that word? It was Pride Night for the Flyers. They were all wearing the Pride shirts. Provorov refused to wear the shirt because he stated his religious belief. He doesn't believe in that or something. Look, I don't care about anyone's religion. Okay, I'm not religious myself. I'm not religious. My family is not religious. So I don't really understand as much as other people do the whole thing of if you're Christian, if you're Catholic, you can't do this and certain things you're supposed to do with different religions. But I understand his religion may not believe in that, but it's 2023, okay? At this point, you got to get a grip. It's 2023. 25 years ago, I could see it. People weren't as aware as they are. Not as many people were out there. The LGBTQ community wasn't really out there as much as it is today. But now it's 2023. I just don't understand why he can't wear the shirt for a couple hours. I don't understand. I don't think he harmed anybody, but it's just, I thought it was stupid, to be honest. It was just stupid. It's 2023. Come on, dude. Really? Come on. The religious beliefs excuse, I'm sorry, it doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't. I just want to put that out there. It really doesn't. Moving on to college basketball. You had number 1 Purdue over Michigan, 75-70. Number 6 Arizona over Washington State, 63-58. USC with a big upset over UCLA, who's ranked 8th in the country right now in the Pac-12 matchup, 77-64. You had Florida Atlantic, who's ranked 21st, beats Middle Tennessee, 85-67. That's all you got for that. On to NBA action. Knicks over the Celtics, 121-17 in overtime. Big win for the Knicks. Julius Randle, big game, 37 points, 9 rebounds. In that one, Jaylen Brown misses 2 clutch free throws down the stretch. Pistons over the Nets, 130-122. Sadiq Bey, 25 points, 9 rebounds. Kyrie, 40 points in the loss. Hornets beat the Bulls, 111-96. Mason Plumlee, 21 points and 12 rebounds. Cavs over the Rockets, 113-95. Darius Garland, 26 points and 9 assists. Mavericks over the Suns, 99-95. Dinwiddie had 36 points, 6 boards, 9 assists. Chris Paul, 22 points, 10 assists in the loss. And the Clippers over the Spurs, 138-100. They blow them out of the water. The Spurs are absolutely horrible. Paul George, big game. He had 35 points and 7 assists in that one. By the way, the NBA trade deadline is on February 9th, so that's coming up very soon, less than 2 weeks. There's a lot of buyers, not a ton of sellers, which might be the problem. We don't know what Toronto's doing. We don't really know what Chicago is doing, which way they're going to go. Charlotte appears to be selling. A lot of guys that are available. Terry Rozier's available. The Gordon Hayward might be available. A lot of their veterans, I heard, are on the trade block. Other than that, there is not a ton of sellers. And even some teams that should be sellers just don't have a ton to give. Like the Houston Rockets, Eric Gordon don't have a ton to give. Detroit, who are you giving up? Alec Burks? There isn't a ton out there. So we'll see what happens. And I want to talk briefly about the Shannon Sharpe incident from a week ago. Shannon Sharpe, the guy from Undisputed, ex-NFL tight end, NFL receiver, rather, Hall of Famer. He was sitting courtside for the Lakers-Grizzlies game. Of course, he's very close friends with LeBron James, who, of course, is the star of the Los Angeles Lakers. And he told Dylan Brooks, you can't guard LeBron. And Dylan Brooks, told him to shut up. And Shannon Sharpe, started charging at them. And then, John Morant was yapping at him. Steven Adams was yapping at him. Ja's dad, T. Morant, who's in the stands, came over. And they kind of had a bit of a run-in. This is my thing. So Dylan Brooks' comment about, he's a regular pedestrian, I don't agree with. Dylan Brooks is kind of a bitch, to be honest. I'm not a fan of him. He has not done anything in his career. I don't agree with his comment, because Shannon Sharpe is not a regular pedestrian. He's one of the greatest wide receivers in NFL history. That being said, Shannon Sharpe, sit your ass down, okay? Sit down, okay? You're a fan, okay? You are a fan, okay? Sit down, okay? Sit down, okay? What are you doing, okay? What are you doing? Okay, look, I kudos to him for apologizing and taking accountability on Undisputed. That was a solid apology. Kudos to him. But still, does not excuse the incident. And Shannon, sit down. You're a fan. Brooks' comments aside, Brooks' comments were incorrect, and they were a bit clowny. But sit down, Shannon Sharpe. You're a fan, okay? Sit down. Okay, sit down. Before we get into the show, we got some coaching news. The Carolina Panthers have hired Frank Reich as their next head coach. Frank Reich, of course, was the head coach in Indy the last about 5.5 seasons. Was 40-33-1. Well, we went to the playoffs 3 times. He gets the job. I think he deserves a second chance. He never had a good quarterback. His first year, he had Andrew Luck. He was in the playoffs. Goes to the second round. Then he had Phillip Rivers last season. Then he had Carson Wentz, who sucked. And this year he had, he had Matt Ryan, who was cooked. And then, they gave Nick Foles a try. He looked cooked. They gave Sam Ellinger a try. He wasn't very good. He did not have good quarterbacks. He had one year he had Jacoby Brissett, who's not a starting caliber quarterback. He's a good backup, not really a starter. I think if Carolina can get a good quarterback in the draft, Frank Reich is a very good play caller. He's a good coach. Funny story, Frank Reich actually, he was Carolina Panthers' first ever quarterback in their franchise, and now he's and now he's their head coach. So he's over there. I'm going to go through every team's head coach search. Well, once again, Arizona Cardinals, they interviewed Ejiro Rivera, the D coordinator from the Broncos. The Steelers linebackers coach Brian Flores, of course, former head coach of the Dolphins. Interviewed Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn. They interviewed their defensive coordinator, Vance Joseph. They interviewed Sean Payton, of course, former Saints coach. They did interview Frank Reich, but he's already off the board. They wanted to interview DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator with the 49ers, but the interview was canceled. They also interviewed Dan Quinn. We also have some Dan Quinn, who was a candidate for 3 jobs in Denver and Arizona, and I believe in Indy. He has turned down he has removed himself from all head coach conversations, and he will remain with the Cowboys as their defensive coordinator in 2023. Apparently, I'm hearing Brian Flores is the favorite in Arizona. That's not going to work. You saw why he deserves a second chance. Brian Flores. Overall, he did a pretty good job. Miami didn't get to the playoffs in 3 years, but he had his issues. But overall, on the field, I did a pretty good job. I think he deserves a second shot. But I don't trust him with a young quarterback. Him and Tua did not get along. You see they throw Mike McDaniel in there, who I have a lot of issues with. As a coach, I've been vocal about that in the past. But him and Tua definitely have great chemistry. As soon as Flores leaves, Flores and Kyler Murray are not going to work. Okay, Flores, he's a guy. He grew up in New York City. 20 years ago. He coached under Bill Belichick for a long time. He's a no-nonsense guy, and a young guy like, kind of nonchalant, not serious guy like Kyler Murray, that is not going to work. Same reason why it didn't work in Miami. So, I don't think that's a good fit at all. You have Denver looking for a new head coach. They interviewed Jim Caldwell, former Lions head coach, who definitely deserves a second shot. Interviewed their defensive coordinator, Ejiro Rivera. Interviewed the Rams defensive coordinator, Raheem Mostert. They had interviewed Dan Quinn, but of course he's staying in Dallas. They interviewed Reich, who of course is now in Carolina. No, who's mentioned as Canada, but he's now in Carolina. They did interview Jim Harbaugh, but he's going to stay at Michigan. Their interim head coach, Jerry Roseberg, they just parted ways officially. They interviewed the 49ers defensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryans, who appears to be the front runner right now. Interviewed David Shaw, from head coach at Stanford, who was an assistant in the NFL before he went to Stanford. They interviewed Sean Payton. They were supposed to have their second interview, but supposedly Sean Payton has some issue with Denver's ownership, so their second interview was supposed to happen. It isn't happening yet. We'll see what happens with that. So Payton to Denver has hit a bit of a wall for now. Their favorite right now is probably DeMeco Ryans in Houston. Texans interviewed Rams tight ends coach Thomas Brown. They interviewed Broncos defensive coordinator Ejiro Rivera, who's advanced to the second cycle. They interviewed Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. At one point, he was the favorite. Not so sure if he is anymore. They've interviewed the Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka twice. They interviewed Sean Payton. They interviewed 49ers defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans and Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen. And they did interview Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, but he decided to stay with the Lions for 2023. And then the Colts head coach search, they interviewed Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, who of course for years has gotten passed over for a head coach job. He apparently has a chance to get the job. He's one of the finalists. The Packers special teams coordinator Rick Bisaccia, who of course last year was interim coach of the Raiders and did a great job. I thought should have kept the job full time. They interviewed the Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, Broncos D coordinator Ejiro Rivera, who has advanced to the second cycle. The Lions D coordinator Aaron Glenn. They interviewed Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka. The Giants defensive coordinator Don Martindale. The Rams defensive coordinator Raheem Morris, who advanced to the second cycle. For some reason, their interim head coach Jeff Saturday advanced to the second cycle. I have no idea why. He's awful as an interim head coach. The Eagles offensive coordinator Shane Steichen was interviewed, as was their special teams coach Bubba Ventrone, who apparently is a finalist. They also interviewed Ben Johnson, of course he's going back to Detroit. Harbaugh's going back to Michigan, who they had interviewed. So the finalists appear to be Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs, Ejiro Rivera, the defensive coordinator with the Broncos. Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator with the Rams. And then Jeff Saturday, their interim head coach. God knows why. Their special teams coordinator, Bubba Ventrone. God knows why. And Dan Quinn was one of the finalists, but of course he's staying in Dallas. So that's the head coaching carousel. No Justin today. He had a prior arrangement, so hopefully starting next Friday, our Jake and Justin in the morning and talk report for Jake collab will be complete, and he'll be a special guest on Fridays. Still not sure exactly how it's going to work. We're still working through some things. I'll get you guys the information as soon as I can. But until next time, so long, and have a great day.